You're listening to the Spaceship Earth with me, Dan Burgess, and welcome to episode 6. I'm back in the hood. I've been on the road a bit, but I'm back in the hood in the UK and back on the Spaceship Earth mission. It's all a bit busy right now, which is all good. I've got a few interviews lined up. And a few different guests, which is fantastic. Still finding my feet. If you're listening and enjoying the Spaceship Earth, do let me know. I've had a few messages from different folks, which is super appreciated. It's really cool to get a bit of feedback and people, to hear from people who are listening, and really good. So keep them coming. Always open for a chat. Dan at danburgess.earth, or you can hit me up at Dan Solo on Twitter, or at Dan Solos on Instagram. Get in touch. Lovely to hear your thoughts. So in this episode, I'm really excited to chat to a very special human that I have known for a couple of years, called Chrissy Levett, who is the founder of a fascinating project called Creative Conscience. Which I'll let Chrissy explain really what that all is, but how would I describe Creative Conscience? She started Creative Conscience in 2011, and I would say it is a platform for encouraging kind of creativity for social change, particularly from the next generation. So encouraging ways for young designers, creative thinkers to submit their ideas, projects that have potential to tackle issues they see in their lives, in the world around them. So all kinds of stuff that they've touched on over the years. And Creative Conscience is evolving, I guess. It's an awards program. It's moving into education. They run lots of programs with art school, design school, schools themselves, talks, workshops, you name it. It's all kinds of things are going on, and a fascinating network of advisors and mentors and judges in the awards from different parts of the creative industries, from everything from architecture to fashion, design, textiles, graphic design, digital technologies. It's all there. So a really interesting project. You can check it out, creativeconscience.org.uk. So Chrissy, welcome to the Spaceship Earth. How are you doing?
Hello.
Nice to have you on.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to be here.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's a lovely sunny Friday. Everything's good in my world.
You got some sunshine.
At the moment.
You got some sunshine.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, we have.
Oh,
yeah, it's great.
Because I'm out west today, and it's actually quite. It's a little bit. I'm actually feeling a little bit let down because I thought we were in for sunshine, and it's a little bit grey here. But it's sunny in London.
It is currently. You never know what's going to happen. It might be snowing tomorrow, but yeah, currently it's all good.
Excellent. Well, listen, look, thank you for joining. And what I thought, because before we sort of get into the meat of Creative Conscience and what that's all about, of course I know you, but it'd be good just maybe get a bit of context of your story. How you got to be doing Creative Conscience, like just a bit of a sense for people listening to know a little bit about your journey. Is that all right?
It is all right. Thank you for asking me and us on this podcast. So that's a big thank you to you.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because I'm quite an old soul, and it's quite a long story. But I'll do it as quickly as I can, so people don't get bored. So basically, trained as an illustrator and a printmaker, and then I ended up doing graphics and communication at the Royal College of Art, and then I ended up just being a kind of jobbing freelancer for pretty much all my career until I was forced to take a proper job in my sort of mid-40s as a creative director. While I was doing that, I did a course that was about self-expression and leadership, and during the course there was about 75 of us in the room, and we were coached over a sort of 3-month period. It was, odd Saturdays and the odd Tuesday night. And then at the end of the course, everyone in the room would have built a community project. And my particular community project was called Creative Conscience. And it was very powerful because you were with all these other people holding you accountable. It happened, which was a really fantastic learning curve. And so,
tell me about that, because so you were sort of like, you're going down a path of, wanting to develop, to build on where you obviously felt like there was a sort of transition sort of vibe going on at the time. But did you go into this already with this idea hatching, or just tell me a little bit about that, like?
No, I went into it thinking, what am I doing here? But I had worked in my 20s for NGOs, for in country, on sort of purposeful projects using design to help people, if you like. So I worked for an organisation called the Mines Advisory Board, and I worked, so they went into countries and would educate the communities about landmines and UXOs and things like that. So that was in the kind of late sort of 90s, or no, actually probably early 90s. So I was very fortunate. I got to go to all sorts of amazing places like Angola and Cambodia and Laos and work with communities facing the whole kind of landmine and UXO thing. And then I'd come back to the UK and I'd had my beautiful children. And obviously, as a mother, I couldn't sort of go tearing off to sort of war zones. But I'd always had this feeling that, that it was nice to do those projects. And I'd ended up in an industry which, was basically selling people things that they don't need for my sins. And for a long time, I hadn't really felt very satisfied with that, but I didn't really know what to do. I'd done some teaching, lecturing, part-time teaching at different colleges and universities over the sort of years. And when we did this particular course, what was really brilliant was they got you to kind of do a mind map on a huge piece of paper. And you just filled this piece of paper with every single person in every community that you'd ever come across. And so, it might be, parents from the school gate, or people that you met when you were, at college or uni, or people that you worked with, or, so you had this huge map of everyone you'd ever met, and then you just sat with it. And then the project just kind of sung out to me. I knew I'd wanted to work in education because I'd done a bit of that. I knew I wanted to work in a creative area because that was my thing. And I knew I wanted to work on something that was purpose-filled. And so what was brilliant about it was that they got you to think about what you could do, and then they sort of encouraged you, I'm not going to say forced you, to times it by 10. So your ambition was really high. So what I knew about was, design, graphic design and communication. And so it was kind of layered on, right, this isn't about design, it's about architecture and fashion and textiles and photography and film and animation and every discipline. And basically I'll say we because it was built by not me but everyone in a community who engaged with the idea built it as a platform for sort of positive change. And so
so this was when this is like when did this course happen and
it was in 2011.
So tell me about like Creative Conscience at that point as an idea. How would you have described it?
It's an online platform, a virtual organization, and it still is really today, that was set up to reward, inspire and encourage the creative industry to use their talent for social good and sustainability. But we soon came to realise that actually trying to get our industry to shift was too big a thing, because it's very hard to change from the top down. But we knew, and I kind of got a bit of it because I'd done a bit of work as a part-time lecturer in education, we could inspire the next generation of creative thinkers so they would move through the system, and in 10 years' time would be the next lot of creative directors, business owners, social entrepreneurs, whatever. And they would influence the people within those organisations as they went out. So it was kind of like a stealth approach to
hack the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really smart. So just tell me about that. So you say, so a couple of things really. So first you say we. So this early on, like who is the we with creative conscience?
I always say we, because it's a bit of a pet hate of mine. You know, when you hear people talking about things, they can sometimes go, you know, I did this and I did that. But actually, it's never a single person. It's always them and a load of other people. So, you know, right, we are we, you know, we are. So I don't know.
But when you came out of the course, when you first started drawing this idea up in that course, it was you, right, at that time.
Yeah. At that moment, yeah. But then what I did was what they got you to do on the course was to be brave. So you had to go out into the world and talk to as many people as you could, or met, or people on the bus or on the tube or whatever, or people, your friends, your family, and tell them about this idea as a future truth. So you would just talk about it, and then people would go, oh yeah, that's a great idea, and then you go, okay, do you want to get involved? And that's how it was built.
Brilliant, I love it.
So it was like, so I wrote, for example, at the beginning during those 3 months, I wrote to people like Zaha Hadid or Sebastian Conran or Jonathan Porritt or Vivienne Westwood, all these great names. And when I wrote to them, I just said, we are doing this. So that was true, because we were. But at that stage, there was only like me and two other people, for example. Yeah. But because you were writing and you're saying in that message, we are talking to X, Y, and Z, which is also a truth, people obviously then get, you know, oh, great, get involved and seduced, and their ego, whatever, creates them wanting to get involved. Yeah. Maybe they care and they love it. You kind of just, we were coached around how to communicate, how you get an idea off the ground in a really fearless way.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So the other thing I thought was interesting when you said, you know, the vision was to try and sort of help shift a commercial creative industry to become more meaningful, aware, purposeful, whatever you want to call it. And then you said, but then actually you came to realise quite fast it's super hard, and therefore your shift to this kind of like next generation idea. Just tell me about that, because I think that's quite fascinating, that kind of pivot, if you like.
Yeah, well, I think being in the industry and having kind of worked my way up, albeit a bit haphazardly, and becoming, you know, what you like, if you want, you know, a creative director. It always sounds a bit wanky when I say that, but you know, I'm a creative director, and then being on the board, and you know, I couldn't quite believe that, you know, that was me in that moment. And having conversations with clients around sustainability and what we need to be doing, and then being told off by people because I was having that conversation with a client. I'd already learned that I wasn't being allowed to talk openly about what I believed in front of clients, because agencies are so full of fear, and practices, you know, they're full of fear, especially at that time, because this was, you know, no one was even thinking about ocean plastic, you know, 7 years ago. It wasn't on the radar. So I knew, and then trying to then get agencies and looking around for agencies that were in the purpose sort of, you know, focused on, you know, social justice or sustainability. There weren't any. There were none. There was a few, you know, IDEO, great example, Tim Brown over in, you know, in LA and all of that, but there wasn't really a lot. And even now that we get students constantly saying, oh, I want to work for a purposeful agency. And I said, well, they really don't exist. There are very few. So it was really apparent very quickly from my own personal experience, and then talking to other people who were in similar positions of, responsibility, if you like, that it was near impossible. It was near impossible. So it very quickly shifted to the next generation. And also because we'd always had this idea of education. Education was really at the root of, the three pillars, education, purpose, and then creativity. So, yeah, it shifted, in probably a day or a couple of days that this isn't going to work. It's like,
yeah. So how did you make that shift to the next generation? And so what did that look like? As what was Creative Conscience doing, and how did it operate? And how did you start to engage with this younger generation around these issues? Tell me a bit about that.
Well, we had the name, and then because I was lucky, I was in a privileged position as with an agency. I kind of pitched it to the board, and the board initially said, no, we're not interested, there's nothing in it for us. And I went, okay, fair enough. And then,
no money.
yeah. And then about a month later I went back into a board meeting, and they sort of said, oh, how's your little project going? And I said, oh, it's great, yeah, I've got Sebastian Conran and Quentin Blake and blah, 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 all these people involved. And they went, oh, really? Okay. And then they decided that they would help, which is fair enough, I get it. So it was a guy called Graham Hawkins, who was our MD, amazing guy, agreed to let us use some of the team who wanted to get involved to help build the site. And then we just stuck it out there, and we had no money or no PR or anything. And so the first year I think we got about 90 projects in, and we sort of said we'll just do it in the UK.
Yeah. Just explain that so people understand, like when you say 90 projects in, so what was it you were trying to do then? Tell me a bit more about that.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. So we set up an award scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So we were inviting young people to send us projects on anything, as long as they sat in line with our aims around, human health and well-being and social justice and sustainability. So we just stuck something out there. And there was it launched in the sort of September of 2011. And then the first cohort of projects came in the spring of 2012, and then we did the judging, and we were very blessed. We had all these amazing judges who'd agreed to come on board, and a lot of them, were kind of names within the industry, and then that encouraged educators. Oh, look, they've got such and such and such and such, and then it just kind of grew. Yeah. I mean, I can't quite believe how it really happened. I mean, I'm still sitting here today thinking, how did that happen? But all I can say, it was probably due to this course and the coaching and the other people on the course,
and the spirit of just putting it out there, and the energy that you create around that, and
just being brave, being of service as well is something that we hold really at the centre of our practice. Is we are of service. We are here to help. It isn't about someone's ego or money or any of that. No one gets paid, or we pay the people that, the young people that help us and interns and stuff, but it is really built by a community in a very kind of selfless way. Yeah.
And so, again,
so that's how it all started. Yeah.
And so just giving us a sense again for people listening, so you've got these different areas you're asking for people to put projects in, but this is about mainly kind of like young creative or youngsters that have got a creative direction they're wanting to move in terms of their education or profession or what have you, and you're asking them to sort of submit existing things, ideas. What give us a sense of how it works so people know what it's all about.
Okay, so it crosses all design disciplines now, from tech, digital, fashion, textiles, anything really. I mean, we'd love it to go into music and dance and physics and we'd like it to be in every subject, but I'm not sure we'll be able to handle that. But any kind of creative sort of media.
Yeah.
Then they basically send a project to us, and then there's a closing date. And those projects will be a PDF or a film or a link to something, and it will be something around an issue that they care about, or a problem that exists in our world or on the planet, and they will be looking at ideas to create positive change around that particular issue or challenge.
It's as simple as that in terms of the framing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we take those projects, it's like a funnel, and we look at the best ones that we can see that might then create tangible impact in the world, and we take those projects and those young people and our community and possibly a charity or an NGO, and we try and build that into a real life thing.
Brilliant.
So that's actually more important than the award, the competition bit, because it's just a funnel for all the great ideas. And we just finished this 2018. We've just had the main body of the awards in, and we've had over 1,000 young people take part from all over the world, probably I think representing about 65 different nationalities.
Wow.
So from getting 100 or so projects, about maybe 80 or 90 in the first year, we've now got 1,000. So I think over the last 5 years, this is the 6th year, we've had 3,500 projects, all focused on creative thinking, making a positive change in the world.
Amazing. Just give us
really big.
Can you give like a couple of? Can you just share?
Oh, you want an example?
Well, can you share a couple of stories of just like real standouts for you, or over the last couple of years, or just projects that you could just give a bit of colour to this? Yeah.
So we had a lovely young lady send us a project about teenage suicide and bullying. Mm-hmm. She was an illustrator, animator. She was studying at Coventry University. She's actually from Romania. And she'd done this beautiful graphic novel. It was all digitally created, and she'd written the story. It's 166 pages. And she won an award. She came and did an internship at that agency that I was working at. Her project was launched online, and she received more than 2 million hits.
Wow.
And she also received hundreds of emails from young people around the world, some of which telling her that her project has saved lives and stopped self-harm behaviours. So one young lady created a project that was based from her own personal experience of being bullied as a young girl. So that's also something that's really powerful. We get a lot of projects that are sent to us that young people filter in pain or an experience or something that might have happened to them, or a family member or a friend, and they will create against that. So it might be something around cystic fibrosis, or it might be to do with alcohol abuse or domestic violence or anything. So that's one example. We did another project that was on the rise of HIV and STIs, which the concept that they did, and this was from a group of students studying here actually in the UK, and their idea was to create 2 fake profiles on Tinder, and each of those fake profiles had a name, like the girl was called Claire Midia or something, and she was quite pretty, and the boy, I can't remember, was Mr. Herpes or something. And the concept was that they launched these 2 fake profiles onto Tinder, and then when people swiped unconsciously yes through Tinder's GPS system, they would be then sent a message showing them where their nearest STI clinic was, and giving them a little, bit of bump about, be careful and think consciously, condoms, etc. And so that was the concept. We really loved it, and we wrote to Tinder and various other dating apps, organisations, thinking that they'd take it on because it's just a brilliant bit of, creative, positive activism. Sadly, no one responded. So we approached a sexual health charity called Brooke that worked with 16 to 24-year-olds. They thought it was a great idea. And so we just did it. We just we got a group of volunteers. We created a number of different fake profiles. We launched it across a number of different dating apps. It was the Christmas before last, because we chose Christmas because that's when people go a bit crazy.
A busy time.
Yeah, a busy time, party time.
A lot of love. There's a lot of love in the air around Christmas.
Yeah, a lot of love. Yeah, a lot of naughty unconscious love. And we had a guy called Ben Ackers, who's one of our supporters yeah, you know Ben. He helped the team and wrote some copy, and so when people responded like yes to someone who was called Claire Midia, we would then end up having actual dialogue with them, and then we filmed it as a what we call a positive piece of creative activism, in order then to create that film as a virtual film that could be used to raise awareness for the charity. So that's a sort of an example. Lovely. And that was loads of fun. I mean, I was someone, and I was a couple of people, and actually doing it, having these conversations, and people thought that we were an algorithm at this time. We weren't. Just loads of people sitting, at Christmas parties or on our Christmas dinner, having conversations with people, and we had a hashtag and all that malarkey. Yeah, it was good. So things like that, and then we opportunities for young people. So we had 2 architects go and work with Thomas Heatherwick last year. So it's lots of little things. We now have started doing events as well. So we did an event in February with the Design Museum here in London, and it was all around mental health. So we filled the auditorium. It was a sellout event, and we got people working in the creative industries around the issues of mental health. So whether it's a piece of service design or a filmmaker or someone in advertising or even an exhibition designer, and got them to talk about how they work in mental health. And then we had a panel of graduates. It was very graduate led. So because a lot of things, it's always old folk standing at the front of the room telling people stuff. But we got the young people at the front of the room talking to us about why they created a project on mental health. And it was really moving. It was a young lad who entered the awards. He hadn't won an award, but his project was really powerful, and he came into the room and spoke about how he'd lost his father to suicide in his second year at college, and that had empowered him to create this particular campaign. And it was really moving. And we also did a capture. We did a sort of in live time, a survey at the beginning, an event at the beginning and the end of the event, capturing whether by doing the event it had a positive effect on those people who were there. And it had, which was great, because by capturing the data, that it isn't just all fluff, it's actually making a difference. So yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. And so what have you, because I mean, I've sort of, I've known you for a while, and I've watched this thing growing, and and you asked me to come and judge one of the categories last year, which has been great, and I'm doing it again this year, and I think it's amazing what's good. But you must be, how's it been because it's been like, as you said, it's been, you're building this thing out with this community, and I know what it's like trying to build things, and but, there's no funding. There's, you're sort of, it is a kind of a labour. Obviously, I know it sort of sounds cliche, but it is a labour of love. It's a kind of this ongoing thing. But what are you noticing? Are you noticing how are people? Are things changing? Are organisations becoming more interested? Because I know what it's like. These things evolve, right? But it does feel, as we talk a lot, but that. The world, it feels like there's more energy and interest in doing good things in the world. Is that what you're experiencing at the moment? Is there shifts happening, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, massive shifts from 2011 to now. More businesses realise, whether they're doing it for whatever reason, realises that this is the way we need to behave, and makes good business sense. We can make money by putting people and planet first. There are now more and more examples of organisations that do that. Whether it's Patagonia or Method or whoever. it's completely possible. There are some amazing things happening, and the more we connect with each other and collaborate, and the more we talk about it, the more it will happen. Yeah, it's from getting 90, young people to over 1,000 in quite a short period of time. You can see it, and what's really interesting is it's what young people want. It's not, it's kind of not really about me and at my age and middle-aged. When we go and talk at universities, I always say, I'm going to be dead when, excuse my language, the shit hits the fan. But you aren't, even if you don't care, it is you're going to be in this in 50 years' time. I won't. So, and they really are incredibly up for it. They're looking for it. So, and businesses are. Businesses are losing employees because they're bored and dissatisfied. And so a lot of companies, might come to us and go, we can't keep our staff. We've got a talent, we've got all our talent leaving. They're all bored. How can we engage them? And so they're slipping in pro bono, purpose-driven projects, and actually they're seeing a difference in their staff, and it makes people feel good. Okay, we all have got to earn some money. I'm not, suggesting that we live on nothing, but we can do both.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that. We weren't taught that. When I was at art school, it wasn't.
Well, it's always quite separate, isn't it? Like good things are on the, doing good stuff. There's no money in doing good things. Just do a bit of charity over here. So obviously, that's we know that's shifting massively. We're seeing this stuff change over the last few years. It's really accelerating all kinds of things, and that's obviously reflected in, like you say, the amount of people that are wanting to submit work and reach out. You've got this. When you look at the network you're building around, you've got some amazing people that seem to be connected into the project, advisors, judges, all kinds of stuff. So it feels like it's a really interesting time for you. What's still a real struggle? What's still really hard?
I have in the past and more recently suffered quite badly with depression, and I suppose when that has hit, and it did hit quite significantly over the last 6 months for whatever reason, is this kind of feeling of, what's it all for? Oh, is there any point? Are we really making a difference? This sort of feeling, which I'm sure all human beings get, in some moments or other. That's my own personal battle around that.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate to have wonderful people that I can reach out to and who go, have given me little tips around the really simple things. Like, so if I get an email or an email comes into our organisation and it says something positive, I will flag it with a yellow flag.
Yeah.
And then if I have a moment of darkness or a really challenging thing going on, I will simply just go into my yellow flags, and I will read a couple of mails, and then I take a deep breath and it's fine. So there's little tips like that that can really help. So any of you out there that also suffer from that feeling of despair, just capture anything that anyone has ever said to you that's remotely positive and flag it. And then when you have your moment of despair, dive right back into those flagged emails or whatever. So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Funding, I used to worry more about how, because now I don't work in an agency anymore. This is what I do most of the time. I do bits of freelance and consultancy and stuff. But I've just changed my life to be okay around that, so I just don't need stuff. I just don't spend stuff. I don't, I've it's amazing what you don't need.
Yeah.
When you're a student and stuff, you can live off very little and be completely happy and fine. And my children are sort of at an age where they're sort of like going off slowly, and so I have enough of everything. I'm fortunate. I've got enough clothes. I can put food on the table. So you just I become okay with that. Let go of worrying about finances a bit more, and we get support and from lovely people pro bono, and we get a bit of funding here and there, and we can carry on. Even if we don't grow, it's fine. We're just doing it. It's fine.
Amazing.
It's fine. It's fine. She says, trying to convince herself.
That's right. I'm exactly the same.
It's fine. It's
fine. I guess, I think, these, it is, again, it's just, I think I was chatting the other day about, the up and down, the sort of human, the humanness of it. I think we, there's a constant sort of, there's always misery. I think it's part of being human, really, isn't it? There's we're sort of, we're this. I think the older I get, the more that's maybe it's. I don't think it's imperfection. It's just who we are. There's always suffering as well in what we do and how we live, and like you say, some of us have more. We have more privilege and luck and gratitudes for things that we, people or situations or contexts that we have around us. But actually, that suffering is probably there in everyone's life in some way,
yes,
isn't it?
absolutely.
And when you're trying to build something which I would say, is a reflection of a kind of a transition that we're living in right now. These ideas where we're sort of imagining a different way of thinking about creativity and communications, and how what is important to put energy into, and how do we sort of lean into kind of helping others, or do you know what I mean, or using our kind of energies to kind of bring awareness of things. They're sort of countercultural in a kind of a sort of highly industrialized culture, which sort of sees growth and economics and getting ahead of everyone as a sort of story.
So wrong, isn't it? We've got it so wrong.
Yeah,
and so sad. We're so misguided.
But the flip side is, the springs are springing up everywhere. The water's rising. It feels like there's all these.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, huge changes.
Yeah,
huge. It's really exciting. I said to someone yesterday, if we didn't have all these awful challenges in the world with, politics or war or sustainability or whatever, we wouldn't have the opportunity to create the changes we need to. So you have to look at it like it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so every problem that we get faced is an opportunity to grow and learn and develop. If we don't have any problems, then we have no opportunity to do any, to change or do anything. We're just kind of sitting there like a big blob, So if you can look at it like that, which takes a bit of practice sometimes, but it's great that we've got these things that we need to address, because there's an opportunity, especially as creative thinkers, I think, and everyone is creative, to make those changes. So it's a really exciting time, but you have to work at thinking like that, because you can't think like that all the time. Sometimes you want to hide under the duvet.
Yes, exactly. And just on obviously, what about the kind of more sort of planetary issues? Are those coming through strongly at all with Creative Conscious? Are those what are the sort of signals are you seeing from people that are?
Well, it was quite interesting you should mention that, because we have areas like education and health and different areas that people can put their projects in, as well as different disciplines. And we did the fashion and textiles judging yesterday, and one of the judges has been with us right from the start, a lovely lady called Jo Godden, who has a swimwear range called Ruby Moon. I'm doing a shout out for her.
Ruby
She's
Moon.
a brilliant Ruby Moon. She creates fashion wear that is completely sustainable, really lasting. It's made from old fishing lines and fishing nets, and then all the money goes into women's co-ops from all around the world.
Lovely.
It's a really lovely model. Yeah. And she said yesterday, it's really interesting to see that there's a massive shift to a lot of the projects are based on activism. So there's a big sort of shift from, here's a garment made out of X, Y, and Z, to this is a form of activism and behaviour change, which is kind of quite interesting. And we do, we get projects on big issues like climate change and ocean plastic and really big question pollution, to very personal stories like like Eleanor's with the teen suicide and bullying one, but or a project around just trying to think off the top of my head, autism, where someone's brother has it, and or someone who is a child carer who's created a project around that, or someone who Naomi Taylor, who did a fantastic project. She'd come through the care system, and it was all about fostering. So it's from a very personal issue that might be quite niche to a huge global thing. One is that we've got in around war and crisis and getting governments to be more accountable and transparent. And weirdly enough, had a conversation with someone yesterday who's working on a project just about that, so we can go, oh yeah, that's great, and connect those young people with that guy and that organization who are working on a project like that, and then they can go off and make something happen together.
Amazing.
And it isn't just young people, I have to say that, because some of the people who we have chuck us projects are mature students as well, so it isn't just young people, but it mostly. Yeah.
Well, I judged the one of the characters last year, and I was blown away by the quality and the standards and some of the kind of like just really interesting ways in. That's what I found so exciting. Just very different ways into some of these problems. Just really fresh and interesting, and so it's awesome. So listen, how can people, like, what Creative Conscience? Where's it heading? How can people get involved? Like, what do you need? What needs, or what would you love to happen? You just give us a sense of how people get involved, or if you could dream a bit here. If they were like, what are you looking for? But like right now, it's always good to know.
Okay, so right now, it does change. We're constantly changing direction. It's very sort of free flowing, because we don't really know what we're doing this time.
As nature, be like water, apparently,
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what we're doing. It just sort of happens. But at the moment, and this has become, it's sort of evolved this year. Our vision is to get purpose taught and built into curriculums in every school and in every university across everything across the world. So what we want is purpose to be taught, and
when you say purpose, what do you specifically mean by that?
I know it's a bit of a vague subject. So ideas around global issues, social justice, mindfulness, whatever stuff that is good for people and planet. Those ideas to be built into our curriculums. So instead of us focusing on old models of business, right? Selling people more staff, or building more staff that we don't need, or, whatever the old model is, that we are teaching and working towards using all our energy and all our creative talents and all our thinking on stuff that is going to serve people and planet.
Amazing.
So that's our vision. If you can get it into schools and into educational establishments, then people will come out and grow up having that in the forefront of their mind. So we're completely shifting a model.
Hack the system again. We've got to hack the system. Get in there.
Yeah, hack the system. So we're really fortunate that we're working with one art school called Ravensbourne, I hope I'm allowed to say that, who have agreed to our cunning plan.
They have now.
And are building, yes, they are building, because we've inspired them, they are building a unit within their course that will mean that young people actually get credits against their degree for working on a project that sits in line with our aims. And that's the first, we believe, in the country, if not around the world. There are courses that focus on sustainability and stuff like that, and don't shout at me if I've got that wrong. But that is a big thing, because a lot of the time it will be there, but it will be an option, and it doesn't accredit for any of their degree. So now it's within this school, they are putting that across every course within that art school.
Fantastic.
I think there's over 2,000 students.
Well, this is
so
it.
that is
that's it. I mean, this is
a big
I mean, this is the logic. I mean, I'm actually in a dialogue with the university. I've been on and off for last year. Can't say who, because I don't know if it's going to happen, but about building what I would call, ecological literacy, ecological intelligence into a series of courses that aren't necessarily sustainability related. But the point is, it doesn't really matter, right? If you're training to be an engineer or a teacher or a scientist or a business student, whatever you are, if you don't understand how the planet operates and how this system works, and therefore why it's in so much trouble because none of us have been taught that stuff. If you start to, if we're all taught how the thing works, this is sort of what the Spaceship Earth's all about. If you understand how this thing is operating and flying and the cooperation needed and the limits that we have, if everyone has that basic level of understanding, then whatever you move into, you are taking that intelligence with you. Do you know what I mean? And you understand limits, and you understand connections and interconnections and relationships and impacts. And so it's great to hear this, what you're pursuing, because for me, that's like, I think that's so, it's like, not only is it essential, but it's also the possibility of that can only be beautiful, no? Because
absolutely. And that's the other thing, is that we are working on capturing the data or around those young people who work on projects in this realm, how it affects their mental well-being. So I know that Bristol lost 8 students in 18 months to suicide, right? And that's a huge amount, and it's a first. And, young people or people are just suffering from mental health going through the roof. So not only is it going to serve people and planet by teaching this stuff, but it will serve individuals, because if you're working on something which is purposeful, it makes you feel better. Yeah. It gives you a reason to be alive. Yeah. And so that's another thing, if anyone out there is interested in helping us and getting involved and in getting it out into schools and universities, you can get in touch, or is interested in working on, we're working on that project around the data gathering and the mental health stuff with IBM iX, and their agency are very kindly helping us pro bono to run, an innovation sprint so that we can create something that will capture that. And so that's our vision at this moment. Amazing. Is getting it into curriculums and into schools. And then the thing that we really get excited about is bringing projects to life. So, actually getting young people or people's projects in and then building them into something that is real and then has impact in the world. So that's always going to be there. And we always need people and resource and companies to get involved. It doesn't have to be money. If they did want to give us money, great, because we can do more. But it could just be help or mentorship.
So brand partners, agencies, studios, anyone that is sort of interested in this stuff, come and get in touch. We're a community, come and be part of the Creative Cultures community. It's completely inclusive. It could be anyone. It could be an engineer or a cleaner or a hairdresser. It doesn't matter. Just join in. Fantastic. Well, look, so and I guess so people can reach out, creativeconscience.org.uk, and they'll find you there.
And it's conscience. I can't spell because I'm a terrible dyslexic, but it's conscience is CONSCIENCE. So it's like conscience.
Conscience.
Because it's like conscious and conscience. It's a bit
creative
confusing.
Conscience.
Just look us up. Conscience. And write to us hello at, and we've got some Twittery things and Instagram and stuff. You just watch what we put up there and see if that interests you. And
amazing.
Because obviously the bigger the community, the more people will take notice of us, I suppose. Even if you just follow us, that would be kind and nice.
Exactly. Well, that you've heard it. Well, listen, look, I think it's an amazing project, and it's great to be connected with it and with you and see what it's doing and how it's evolving. And thanks for taking the time to have a little chat.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
very kind.
Good luck with it all. Thank you. I'm going to see you in a few weeks at some point. But I will put this out and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you, Dan, and everyone out there. Be well, as you say, and lots and lots of love.
Thanks a lot, Chrissy.
Take care. Bye.
So that was Chrissy Levett and Creative Conscience. A lot of lovely story, how that has evolved, right? If there's ever just an example of someone just working from the heart, that whole story of how this project emerged for Chrissy and how she's just been building it up. I think it's just totally inspiring. Let's just get out there and do the things that are inside of us. So check it out, creativeconscience.org.uk. Spread the word. Let's shine some more light on this project. If you know any up-and-coming young creative talent with big hearts for human dignity and a flourishing planet, then point them over to Creative Conscience. Show the way. So thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Spaceship Earth podcast with me, Dan Burgess. I'm about to head off to Portugal and for a few days, and hopefully I'm going to catch a few interviews with some interesting folks out there at a thing called Wave Makers. And take it easy until next time. Remember, on the Spaceship Earth, there are no passengers. We're all crew. And some of the crew are working really hard to keep this thing flying right now. A lot of them are actually non-human. A lot of non-human creatures of this world who are actually creating the conditions for us to be flying and operating. So we've all got to step up a bit, which is good and exciting. And more of that to come. Anyway, hope you enjoyed listening as ever. Please do get in touch. Drop me a line, dan@danburgess.earth, or hit me up at Dan Solo or at Dan Solos on Instagram. It'd be really great to hear you. If you've enjoyed the show, please do share it, comment on it, rate it, whatever you can is much appreciated. But until next time, keep on flying and take it easy. Peace and out.